Welcome back, guys. Or if you're new to my channel, this is Automotive Anonymous, and today I get to compare two of the ultimate compact crossovers, the 2025 Subaru Forester, which is in an all-new generation for this new model year, and the aging but still beloved Toyota Rav4. These are two of the best-selling crossovers in the class. They've both been out since the late 90s, and they both have a lot to offer. The Rav4 specifically sells over 400,000 units every single year in the United States market and about 1 million units globally each year, making it the best-selling compact crossover, especially out of any Japanese automaker. The Forester, it doesn't sell quite the same, but it still has a beloved cult-like following. These sell around 150,000 units every single year in North America, and quite a few more if you count the European and Australian and Japanese markets as well. They're both top safety picks. They both have all-wheel drive, they both can get over 30 miles per gallon, and they both have a lot of other things to mention, a lot of things that they have in common. But just like there's a lot of commonalities between them, even down to almost the paint color. The Forester is in crystal silica black, the Toyota is in magnetic gray metallic. They both have a lot to offer, and they both have a lot that you guys might be interested in. So in today's video, we are going to do a side-by-side comparison of these two so you guys can see exactly where the strengths and the weaknesses are in each of these platforms, to help you decide what should you do with them. Should you buy them, or should you leave them at the lot and consider the other dozen compact crossovers? And if you guys get anything out of this video today, please consider liking this video, comment your thoughts and opinions below, subscribe if you haven't already, and check out Twin Falls Subaru. They own both of these vehicles. They're one of the best dealerships in the nation to work with. They sell below MSRP, they ship all over the country, and there's a lot that they can do for you. And with that said, let's get right into this side-by-side comparison. We're gonna go from the front to the back, to everything in between for this side-by-side comparison over the next 20 minutes. But it is worth mentioning that overall, these are both the compact crossover class of vehicle. If you want a smaller class like the subcompact, that's like the Crosstrek or the CHR. If you want the medium-sized one, that's gonna be closer to like an Outback or even like a Toyota Highlander. So these are compact crossovers that compete against things like the Mazda CX-5, the CX-50, the Chevy Equinox, the Ford Escape, and a lot of other vehicles in that class, which maybe their other biggest competitor is the Honda CR-V. They're both about 15 feet long with just under a 9-foot wheelbase. They're 6 feet wide, 5.5 feet tall, and they're pretty planted and stable on the road. The Subaru does have a far superior mechanical symmetrical all-wheel drive system that is always engaged, always turned on, whereas the RAV4, it doesn't. It has an electric motor in the back to connect its all-wheel drive system that doesn't engage until you've already lost traction, and then it's time to kind of step in and regain control of the rear. It also has some electric motors up front because this is the hybrid version, but you can buy a RAV4 without the hybrid components, and it's actually going to look very similarly under the hood. So if we want to see how much these cost and how much they compare, these two specs are actually about the same. The RAV4 barely is used. It's basically completely brand new, and the Forester is brand new. The Forester starts about $30,000 for the lowest trim level, which is the base model. A premium starts at around $32,000, and then you tack on destination delivery and a few extra options. This one's closer to $36,000, which is actually also where the Toyota Rav4 is currently being offered at. And it has about a $29,000 starting price if you don't want a hybrid, about a $32,000 starting price if you do. And both of these definitely can go well over $40,000. So they are not cheap vehicles by any stretch of the imagination. But in this configuration, both having a lot of extra creature comforts, a lot of safety features, and being in the mid $30,000 ballpark, I think where these vehicles shine the most is at trim levels such as these, the premium Subaru Forester and the XLE Toyota RAV4. But if we look under the hood of the Forester, you'll notice with its 6-foot vehicle width, the engine actually sits really low. Part of that is because of the Subaru Boxer design where the block is very rectangular and horizontal and down low. So all the accessories are up top, easy to reach, easy to do a lot of the maintenance. It's even kind of a rear-wheel drive setup where you have the serpentine belt on the front of the engine, easy to get to. You have the alternator, the AC compressor, you have your coolant, tubes and reservoirs and all the things on the periphery, all the reservoirs, fuse box, you have the battery, you have the brake fluid. You also have a lot of room, even on the back, you can check out the CVT, and it's just easy to find where everything goes, the throttle body, the intake runners, all of that stuff. And then it makes about 180 horsepower and about 178 pound-feet of torque. So it's not class leading, but there's gonna be a hybrid coming soon. And I think with how much extra room there is under the hood, it's gonna be pretty easy to work on that. Something that I love about both of these automakers but especially this new 6th generation of Forester, is that Subaru keeps making it more reliable. They get rid of bad systems that haven't proven themselves, like they've returned to a mechanical thermostat, getting rid of the electronic thermostat, and they've just done other little updates here and there to make this the best version of it that you can currently buy, which is awesome. And then if we come over to the Toyota, this is the A25A engine. The last 3 digits of the serial number changes depending on if it's the hybrid or not. The non-hybrid makes 201 horsepower. This one makes a combined 219. That's through the couple electric motors in the front and through the electric motor in the back to make it an E or electronic all-wheel drive system. This, you can see, is transversely mounted. So the pistons run like this. The serpentine belt is right there. The alternator is down low. It's going to be harder to work on this than it is on the Subaru. And then you can see its CVT down there, which really shouldn't be called a CVT because it is planetary gears. It's not a belt-driven system. And it's supposed to be about as simple and about as reliable as any transmission currently made for the year 2025. Otherwise, you have your reservoirs on the periphery. You can see a lot of those fill caps. You can see the engine fill and oil dipstick. The induction side is right here. The exhaust manifold side is right there. You have the battery right there. You basically have a lot of things that you can easily access on both of these. But I do think the Subaru wins in the all-wheel drive department, hands down, and probably in simplicity. Plus, a lot of people just aren't really familiar, even today where Priuses and hybrid Toyotas have been around for 20 years, people just aren't as familiar with what the orange connections are, what all the hybrid components are, and how to work on them. But Toyotas, you really don't have to work on. So honestly, both of these vehicles are very good options if you want something that is reliable. I think both of these Japanese automakers actually did a pretty good design overall for these vehicles. They look a little bit more squared off, a little bit more aggressive than some of their previous generations. They don't look quite as bubbly, but they still don't sacrifice any of the functionality. They both look really good, and at this price point, because the RAV4 is getting the hybrid components, it is going to suffer a little bit on some of the interior creature comforts that the Subaru does have, including there's no power liftgate on this one. It doesn't have that option. So if we open up the power liftgate on the Subaru, it opens pretty well. And we're going to have to physically open this one by hand. Back here on the RAV4, you actually have just about a class-leading amount of storage behind the second row. 37 cubic feet back here, which is phenomenal. You also have a temporary spare tire hidden under here with your tire changing tools and your scissor jack. And it looks like maybe a little bit of extra storage on the sides that you can tuck in. Otherwise, this trim level, other than offering the privacy shade, it really just doesn't have a whole lot to offer. This one does have an all-weather mat. If you're anything like me, 5'11" and good mobility, you can reach and you can drop the seats. And when you do drop the seats, you have 69 cubic feet. So again, not class leading with the seats down, but when the seats are up, very nice amount of space, very wide opening. The bumper doesn't really stick out very far either, so it's easy to lift and get to a nice low loading floor. Back here though, you have a little bit less room, even though it doesn't really look like that on camera when the seats are up. You have just over 30 cubic feet. Some of these might have a Harman Kardon speaker in the back, taking up about a foot of cubic room. This one does not, but you'll notice you also have some bag clips, a 12 volt. You also have the privacy shade that you could install, which is currently just not installed right now. And then you have a little bit of grip, kind of a design on the wheel wells. You can also reach, but I think it's harder to reach in here than it is for me in the RAV4 because the shape is slightly different. And then you have a temporary spare tire. Only the Forester Wilderness would have a full-size spare. That's under here with all your tire changing tools. And then you even have like a battery tray in case you get a different size battery and it doesn't get up to the terminals the same way for the connections. So storage back here, just over 30 cubic feet. And when you drop the seats, you have just over 70 cubic feet. So I think the storage probably goes to the RAV4 overall, especially when the seats are up and you have more occupants. But this one does have a light right here, an LED. You can also lock and lower it, or you could just lower it. And I'd say that the hatches on these probably open up to about the same height. So I don't think either one's gonna win in that category. Just be careful you don't hit your roof and you don't hit your head on it if you are really tall. While neither of these vehicles had any problem pulling off of the main road and onto the dirt lot, the Forester does win with ground clearance. It has 8.7 inches compared to about 8.1, but there is some different literature saying these have up to 8.4 online. And surprisingly, the RAV4 actually has a slightly bigger tire. It has a Primacy all season, which is not thought to be a very good tire from the factory, and it's a 17-inch wheel on this trim level with a 225/65/17, which is actually a tire size that I really like. Meanwhile, the Yokohama on this one It's slightly smaller in only one category. It's still a 17-inch wheel on this premium, but it's a 225/60 instead of 65/17. The fuel economy and the way that these two vehicles go about it is actually pretty different. If we didn't have the blue badge signaling that this is a hybrid, they're actually pretty similar. They both get around 25 to 27 in the city and around 32 to 33 on the highway. The main difference is the Forester has a bigger gas tank than any of the RAV4s. It is a 16.6 gallon tank, which is located right here on the passenger side. When the vehicle is unlocked, the gas door is unlocked, you just have to push it in and it pops right open. And when you lock the vehicle, the gas door locks. You don't have to worry about any of the bums coming to siphon your fuel. And then the gas door is located on the driver's side of the RAV4, which is actually where I prefer it because that's where you hop out of the vehicle. I just think that's more convenient. It's locked all the time. So there is a button that you push on the footwell of the driver's side that unlocks it, but it's only a 14.5 gallon tank. So if this is a non-hybrid, your max road trip and range could be about 60 miles fewer than the Forester. But if you do have the hybrid like this, it actually could be about 50 to 100 miles more depending on if it's the hybrid or the prime, because these are rated for about 41 in the city, 38 on the highway, which is, I think, about class leading. But it's now time that we hop into the driver's seat of both of these vehicles, starting with the Subaru Forester. The door panel, it's nice, it's all black materials, but thankfully they're soft, and the door actually opens pretty wide, a little bit wider than it does on the Toyota Rav4. Otherwise, you don't really have anything on the door sill worth mentioning. You have these cloth mats on this price point. You have rubberized pedals and a dead pedal, hood release, OBD2 port, fuse box. These are the options you have on this one. Ventilation, lighting stock. The LED headlights on both of these cars are great. And then you have a power adjusted heated seat with a huge panoramic moonroof up top, but I do have the sunshade closed right now. And then when we get inside of the Forester, we push the start button, it fires right up, the needles dance. This does have steering responsive headlights. The wheel is tilting and telescoping, so it's easy to find a nice driver position. You have voice and volume controls on the left. You can go through your info display right there. And then you have all of the adaptive cruise settings on the right. It is a leather wrapped wheel, but it's not heated. And then you do have the big giant screen, which is not my favorite. If I haven't mentioned already, or if you're new to my channel, my wife and I actually own a 2025 Forester, and we love it. It's a really good vehicle, but this is not my favorite. You have to turn off auto start stop each time if you don't like it. You have a wireless charger, some plugins. The backup camera is going to look even worse through this film from the factory, but it does have the cross traffic alert, which is really cool. And then you have electronic parking brake, you have a 12 volt, you have some cup holders, and then you have an average size center console. Otherwise, up top, you should have some LED lighting. You have a place for your sunglasses. You can open this huge panoramic screen protector, and the whole thing actually slides down, which is pretty cool too. And then you have garage door openers, you have a compass, you have auto-dimming mirrors that affect both the rear and the sides. Blind spot monitoring. You have an extension piece right here, and you should have some LED. Oh no, this one just has incandescent, but you can get LED lighting as an upgrade on it. Anyways, let's turn this one off and we'll hop into the front of the Toyota. The front of the Toyota also has proximity key features. It has turn signals on the mirror, which this Forester did not with its trim level. And then you have blind spot monitoring as well. But when you open up the door panel, I don't think the front opens quite as far as it does on the Forester. It's more noticeable in the back, as you'll see soon enough. The door panel, it's also kind of cheaper. Mostly soft touch materials, but the Forester definitely has nicer, softer materials than what this has. It does have a nice big beefy handle, which I really like. You have a speaker, a bottle and snack pocket. Those are your controls right there. And then this is a cloth seat with power options for the driver only, not the passenger. You also have all-weather mats. You have rubberized pedals and dead pedal. There's the OBD2 port. There's that button for the gas door, the hood release. Your extra options on here, some storage, lighting stock, non-leather wrapped wheel. Because like I mentioned before, you're trading a lot of interior extra features for the hybrid system, which costs a couple $1,000s. And then there's no power moonroof up top. But if we hop inside of this one, the wheel tilts and telescopes. It fires right up with the push button start. And it basically seems like nothing happened, because until you start moving and you need to engage the actual engine, it's just in electric mode. So you have voice and volume right here. You can go through the display. You can see when all-wheel drive is kicking in, tire pressure, all that stuff. You can also do all of your cruise control and adaptive features right here. The horns on both of these vehicles is going to sound about the same. Pretty high pitch, pretty loud. It's just a carryover horn. This is your infotainment screen. You can go through each thing. It works maybe a little bit faster than the Subarus, but I know some of you guys don't necessarily like a screen popping up versus built-in, but I don't think either one really impedes the visibility. The Forester definitely has bigger windows. You can see out of their windows better than this, but honestly, this has such big side mirrors. You can really see a lot of stuff, and visibility is not a concern in either of these vehicles. And what I love about the RAV4 is this: physical dials, traction control button. If you have heated or heated and ventilated seats, those are buttons right here. You could have a wireless charger, some plugins. The backup camera is also nicer on this one. Trajectory lines move, and it's just a little bit bigger, more clear and crisp of screen. You can go through your different drive modes: auto vehicle hold, electronic parking brake, eco, sport, trail, or EV mode, where you can creep around without making much more than spaceship type of noises. You also have cup holders right here. You have a center console, and you have some plugins. This center console is a little bit bigger, and I like it more than the Subarus. Otherwise, there's nothing on the mirror, no garage door openers, nothing like that. You do have a spot for your sunglasses, LED lighting, which is nice. And this is very similar. You have an extension piece, but you do have LED lighting, how this one is spec. So with that said, let's turn this one off and we'll hop in the back seat of the Subaru Forester. The back of the Forester is really where this vehicle shines. First of all, look at how big this door opens. It's huge. It's going to be a little bit easier to get in and out of here than it is in the RAV4, as you'll see soon enough. The door panel, it's all black materials again. A little bit harder materials right there, but still kind of a soft cloth door card. Small bottle holder, snack pocket. You have some grip right there in case you want to get up to your raised roof rails, which this has. And then this is your cloth seat. Subaru cloth seats I actually really like because they're very soft and comfortable for most body types, and they're not super thick, so they don't take up a lot of room, which is why the back seats of Subarus can almost lay flat with the cargo area more than a lot of other vehicles, and they just don't take that much room. You also have a lot of footwell room down here when you do have the seats down. You even have a double map pocket on this one. You have the pamphlet holder, the iPhone holder right there. And when you get inside of this one, at 5'11", I even have a strap to pull and recline my seat, which is a pretty nice feature. And then I have some vents, some plugins, and an armrest. And if you go with the higher trim level, you can even have heated seats back here. You also have LED lighting. And when you have the sunshade open, you get a lot of natural light. That really combats a lot of the gloomy gray interior that this one has. But look again how big these windows are. Visibility is just about as good as any vehicle in the Subaru Forester. So with that said, let's hop out and we'll hop into the RAV4. Starting with the door on the RAV4, it doesn't open quite as far, and that's noticeable on the interior portion. From the outside, it might actually look pretty similar, but there's just a noticeably less amount of room in here. The door panel, though, it's basically all the same materials that you had on the front, all the same type of hard plastics. Thankfully, it's all stuff that's going to last for a long time and probably not be easily damaged. Otherwise, these cloth seats I think are just as comfortable as the Subarus. They can drop, but it's a little bit creakier of a system, and the seat doesn't recline as well as it does on the other vehicle. But you can notice that it is a wider seat. You don't have as much room right here between the backrest and the ceiling, I don't think. And then it is raised up more than it is on the Forester. You could still car camp back here, but it might be just 2% less comfortable. And then if we sit behind ourselves in the driver's side at 5'11", I have a pretty good amount of room behind myself. If I recline the seats as far as they can go, it looks like they already were. Probably a little bit more leg room in the Forester. Ventilation, you have some plugins, and then you have cup holders in the armrest, which I appreciate. Otherwise, these windows, you can see they're just a little bit smaller than they were on the Subaru Forester, but I still have plenty of headroom, at least that much above my spiky hair. And it would be easy to go across the country in a vehicle of this size. So even though it's a compact crossover, that name is kind of misleading for how much room that the back seat actually gets. My final thoughts of the 2025 Toyota Rav4 and the Subaru Forester is I personally really like these vehicles. There's a reason why I have owned Subarus for the last 5 years and why we actually own a 2025 Subaru Forester. We've had it for almost 5 months now, and it's been a perfect vehicle. No issues so far in the few thousand miles we've put on. But there's a lot of reasons why people love the RAV4s. Their miles per gallon, their iconic, more muscular look than they ever had before. I think when this 5th generation came out and it looked this bold and aggressive, I think it brought a lot of buyers to it who potentially weren't going to consider it in the past. Both of these vehicles, and basically any of the regular colors they're offered, I think they look pretty good. I think they're both fun to drive. I have individual driving views of both of these vehicles. I should say, and I should have said this before, the hybrid RAV4, it's faster than the Forester. It does about a 7.6 seconds 0 to 60 in my area. The Forester does a high 8 to a mid 9 depending on density altitude. But they're both really good vehicles. They both offer a lot, and they're very similar in size and pricing and all the things that you compare and look for in a vehicle. There's a reason why all the Japanese and American and German automakers, well, maybe not the Germans, but most of the other ones, they price their vehicles competitively against each other, and they try to be pretty safe in how they play it because they don't want to lose their foundational customer base, but they do want to edge out the competition, and they both do that in their own way. The Forester is the off-road, more outdoorsy version of the compact crossover. The RAV4 is the more city-going, MPG-focused version. And anyways, guys, if you liked this video, my thoughts, opinions, and the side-by-side comparison, please consider liking this video. Comment your thoughts and opinions below because I love to hear from you. And everything that I mentioned and showed today is just my own thoughts, opinions, perspective. This is all CGI. This is just a computer program. And subscribe if you like computer programs. Anyways, check out the Twin Falls Subaru, one of the best dealerships in the whole nation to work with, and that's why I love to film with them. Anyways, guys, I wish you the best. Hope you take care. Until next time, see ya.